An on-duty constable raped a student, a Manchester student, I'm assuming, in her home, and then told her if she ratted him up or ratted him up, no one would listen to her. So another example. So we've got three. The scale increases here, doesn't it, really? But we've got three quite inappropriate, terrible, and the final story, terrible stories, all Manchester police people.
The difference with this story is the court case was today.
Right.
And he was found not guilty.
Ah.
So, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this one.
Why was he? Are you going to tell us why he was found not guilty, or you don't know?
Well, he was found. It doesn't matter. He was found not guilty in a court of law with a jury.
Maybe he was not guilty.
Yeah, there's a good chance he wasn't. So, the reason why I want to talk about this one is because we've allowed the police to fail so much, and because their recruitment processes are so poor. Any story we hear about the police now, we automatically believed. So we go, officer has raped a student. Oh yeah, that's true. It turns out it wasn't true. He was found not guilty. But they've lowered their standards. They've lowered their reputation almost to the floor now, where we will believe anything because we don't put anything past the police anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not good for us as citizens. It's not good for society, and it's not good for the morale of the police. Now, every time we hear a story and it hasn't had a court outcome on anybody, we need to be sceptical because they always can be found not guilty. And that's to do with any criminal or the police or anybody. We always have back of our mind, we must always remember this hasn't been through a court of law yet, because when we start judging people too early, this officer's life's now probably ruined. He's like, this was 2.5 years ago this complaint came in. He's had 2.5 years of this.
He said 15 years ago.
That's when the
incident happened. But it was only raised as an issue 2.5 years.
She only reported it 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
He's had 2.5 years of hell. He's been found not guilty. He's been off work for 2.5 years. He's been suspended. His career now is probably over. Any likelihood of promotion is over.
Yeah.
Any likelihood of doing anything else is over because he'll always be, during that time he was charged with rape.
Yeah.
He got away with that.
Yeah.
So mud sticks. I should know of what happened to me 4 years ago when the mob came for me and I was called a racist and a Nazi. It turned out I wasn't a racist or a Nazi, but mud sticks. So we just need to be careful sometimes about prejudging people. That's why we have courts of law.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point because you're right. I did know he'd been found not guilty. We discussed it earlier. But I'd forgotten and I just assumed he had.
Because that headline now is so believable.
I'm assuming his name is in the article.
Yeah.
But you're right, all three of those stories, I think if you show them to people, there's nobody will be surprised in Greater Manchester about those stories. And everybody will believe them as well that they happened.
And that's the tragedy.
Yeah. But is that a tragedy? Because
the
reason, Nick, that people believe that is because the police have been doing this sort of stuff for a long time.
That's not what I meant by tragedy. The tragedy is with the falling that low that these stories now are true.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're younger than me, but I remember when I was a kid, I had a respect for the police. And when I saw a policeman walking down, and they had the big hats on as well, they were big guys in those days as well. And I was genuinely in awe of the police and genuinely thought they were looking after us and doing a good job for us. Fast forward to now, I don't think that's the case at all. If I pass a police car on the motorway, I just think I need to drive a bit slow because they'll just try and do me for speeding. If I see a copper walking past, I don't think this person's going to defend me if anything kicks off. And on the few occasions in my life I've actually had to call the police and ask for help, they've never helped me.
Yeah.
They've never helped me.
Yeah. We've got to be careful of looking back with rose-tinted spectacles because the police in other decades, the 50s, 60s, 70s, were heavily corrupt. But we didn't know that because we didn't have mass media, we didn't have social media, people couldn't communicate as much. So we didn't know, so we treated them with a bit more respect and thought they were on our side more than they probably were. Part of this is a social media age where we know things. Now, that's damaged the police, but it's a good thing. There's no point having a corrupt, failing police force. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it. If we can stop it, we can stop it and us not knowing about it and thinking it's doing a good job. And no, it's still failing. So let's find out it's failing and then we can fix it. So I'm glad we've found out now how poor the police are, because now me or people who come after me can start fixing the police. Police oversight is really important. That's something I'm going to be looking at if I become mayor. 'Cause the mayor is also the police crime commissioner of Greater Manchester. And I'm going to set up...
It is one of the few powerful positions.
Yeah, absolutely. The mayor can sack the chief constable with no warning and no reason.
I think you should sack the chief constable on day one with no discussion.
He's actually...
Just to send a message.
Doing okay, so he will know where he stands on day one.
You've gone native already, haven't you? You've gone native. No, he said you're going to reform the police, and you've already let the chief constable off.
He's anti-woke.
Yeah.
He stopped his police dressing up in rainbows. He got rid of all the rainbow cars.
Good.
But he's also being controlled by Andy Burnham. So there'll be more stuff he wants to do that Andy Burnham's going,
oh, so you're
not doing it. So I'll be taking the leashes off the chief constable. I'll be telling him what I want to see. And if he doesn't deliver, I'll sack him. But at the moment, he seems to be wanting to do a good job, and he's doing a good job in certain areas. If you like that video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell and comment. And if you like what I'm saying about running for Mayor of Greater Manchester, then stick around. Tell your family, tell your friends. The only way I'm going to have a chance of winning is a grassroots movement. So be part of that movement and hit that bell. Thanks.